My name is Eldad Beck, an Israeli journalist reporting from Europe, mainly from Germany, Berlin, and also a writer of published several books.
Okay. Eldad, where are you now, and what are you hearing about what's happening in Israel?
Right now, I'm in Berlin, Germany. I actually started getting information about the situation, the dramatic situation in Israel early this morning, more or less when the terrorist military operation started. What we are getting until now, and the situation is not clear, totally clear, is that we are dealing with a massacre with unbelievable proportions. The Hamas and the Islamic Jihad managed in an unexplainable way to get through the fence that goes around the Gaza Strip, and which was built especially in order to avoid such eventualities. And once they managed to break the fence, forces of dozens of terrorists just went through. First of all, they attacked soldiers on the spot. Then they went on to nearby cities and villages, attacked civilians. In one place in Sderot, they attacked the main police station. Then they also attacked the main military headquarters in the area, where I believe there are still fighting going on, which is also hard to believe. They also attacked a musical event that happens once a year in this time of New Year, Jewish New Year holidays, where there were hundreds of Israelis, and apparently many of them were hurt. The numbers that we have until now is around, at least, I would say, at least 50 Israeli dead, hundreds of Israeli wounded.
Eldad, what we're hearing now is that there are more than 100 Israelis dead and close to 1,000 that have been wounded. And these numbers are happening fairly quickly. But I want to ask you this question. One of the things that I've heard a lot of people asking on the ground in Israel is, how could this happen? I want to pose that question to you. This appears to be a massive intelligence failure. Do you see that the same way?
I think it's much worse because in recent months, we had the information that a massive attack is being prepared. It was said that actually the coming war is going to be fought on several fronts at the same time, and Gaza was definitely one of the fronts. What I fail to understand is why so far the other fronts were not activated by mainly the Hezbollah and other Iranian agents in the area. This is probably something that we will find out in the coming hours or days, because I think that we are actually in the beginning of a rolling story. It's not far from being the end. Israel will have to find ways to react, and this reaction will also create a reaction from the Arab side. You have to also remember that the head of the military wing in Hamas actually called all Arabs and Muslims to join the Palestinians in this specific fight against Israel.
Eldad, I have heard as well that there have been hostages taken. And I think, as you mentioned, Sderot, which was an entry point, they may have come from Sderot. What have you heard about hostages in this situation?
What we hear is that there are dozens of hostages. By the way, some of them are still hostages on Israeli soil.
Oh,
And in one of the kibbutzim, there are some dozens of persons held hostages, and there were dozens of Israelis kidnapped, soldiers and civilians that were taken by the Palestinian terrorists into the Palestinian territories of Gaza. So this obviously makes everything much more complicated because in the case of a very severe Israeli attack, these persons, especially the soldiers, could be executed by the Palestinians. The Israeli government has to think very carefully about what it does and how it does it. But on the other hand, the scale of the attack that we have witnessed today doesn't leave many options. There are calls within the Israeli population actually to annihilate Gaza. I don't think that any Israeli government would be able to do such a thing, but definitely there is a need for a military operation that would force Israel to enter Gaza again and do a very thorough cleaning work of the terrorist infrastructure there.
Yeah, that was my next and last question. It seems to me that if Israel does anything on Gaza soil, that it won't be quick. This could be a long-lasting thing. What are your thoughts?
I mean, we see that the operation which started today by the Palestinian terrorists was thoroughly thought and prepared. And I am 100% sure that they also took into account an Israeli entry into their territories. And I think that this sort of fighting will be extremely bloody. However, I believe that we have come to a point where, I mean, many Israeli governments in the past avoided such a step because of the price that we will have to pay. But after the massive massacre that we have witnessed today, I don't think that the government will have any other option than getting into Gaza and doing a very thorough work, despite the fact that it might cost the lives of many soldiers. I just hope that the Israeli army is much more prepared for such an operation than it was prepared for preventing what we are seeing in these hours.
Well, Eldad Beck, thank you so much, my friend, for joining us, and thank you for telling us what you know about this horrible situation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for the time and for the interest.